So it looks like we're going downtown, Jade. Where are we actually?
We are in Brickell actually right now. We're going to see a project called Smart Brickell. We figured today we'll actually go to the site so you guys can see a little bit of what it looks like. If you don't know Brickell, it is one of the most walkable areas in Miami, and I'm doing it with a car. So really not ideal, but this will give you guys kind of an idea of the project a little bit better than just talking about it. We're actually going to go to the place.
Awesome. So as you drive through Brickell, tell me like what if someone is in a different state or different area, what would they compare Brickell to?
A lot of people say that Brickell, I should get a thing for my phone. A lot of people say that Brickell is like a Manhattan of Miami because it's extremely walkable. It's not as dirty. I'm from New York, so I could say that. But yeah, so it's like a cleaner, prettier version of Manhattan.
Okay, cool. And what makes you excited about this project that you're going to talk about today?
Okay, what's exciting is that I'm turning down here. Um, what's exciting is that I think I turned the wrong way. Hold on. See, I'm not focused. Give me a sec. Um, yeah, my phone's like, what are you doing? Okay. Oops. All right. Sorry. Got distracted. Well, I'm just going to show you guys a little bit of Brickell then. I should have something with me. Okay, so that Brickell is an area where there are not a lot of condos that allow short term. I mean, a lot of people will call and ask us for this, and it doesn't really exist. There is one building that allows it, but it's really not a nice building, in my opinion. And this is going to kind of elevate the standard of that, which is really exciting to be able to be in Brickell and be in like the center of everything. And have this kind of investment property here in the center of Brickell. Let's see if that cop turns towards me. Okay, no, he doesn't. Okay. So yeah, Brickell is like the financial center of Miami. On the other side of this, I'm trying not to be too obvious about my phone, so that's why I'm not like when I
And for
get
those
out.
of
Yeah,
you watching, it's allowed.
it's
You're
what's
you're
allowed.
allowed to be on your phone here in Miami while you drive.
Yeah, you're not supposed to crash, but we're not gonna
Right,
we're not gonna
totally,
crash. We'll be okay.
totally.
So we're actually on the other side of the train tracks in Brickell, which is known as West Brickell, which is an area, as you can kind of see as you look around, that is like really, really ripe for development, and an area that the developer picked in order to have like a lower price point of the project. So it's not, oh my gosh, sorry. So it's not your typical like extremely expensive Brickell condo kind of thing.
So like a transitional area.
Exactly. And you know that I love transitional areas because here we are. Let me see if I can pick somewhere to park. Because they lend very nicely to appreciation, as opposed to like East Brickell, which is beautiful, and only like 2 blocks away. But with that, it's harder to get appreciation because there's just it's already built up, right, to such an extent.
Yeah, and like to give you guys an example, Jade lives in a place called Edgewater. When I grew up, since I'm old and I've lived in Miami since I was 4, Edgewater was not the nicest area. And now, how much do some properties go for in Edgewater, Jade?
I mean, the typical property you're going to see in Edgewater will be like between 1 and 2 million, but maybe like lower ones right now. But as the new projects come on, they're going to be 2, 3, 4, that kind of thing. Um, and you have penthouses up to I mean, they just sold some of them at 5, and then I'm sure they'll make them nicer and nicer and better as time goes. So from an area that was really kind of not an area you want to live in to kind of a desirable place, it's nice for the people that get in fast, right?
Yeah, it's funny because as you talk about that and you're in like the west part of Brickell, this didn't exist not this hasn't been around that long, right? Less than 10
No,
years for sure.
no, I mean, I would say like less people didn't start talking about West Brickell until like 2 years ago.
Yeah, like a lot of things that you see there now, like for those people that have been to the Hotel the Mandarin Oriental, it's worldwide, it's huge. There's a company called Swire. It's a Malaysian company that does Mandarin Orientals. So they're also a big part of the development in Brickell. They did over, I think over, I don't know, my numbers could be wrong, but it was like either 100 million square feet. It was just such a high number of square footage that they did with the mall, Brickell City Center, many buildings, Reach, Rise, and some other things. But yeah, so much development there. And as Jade is driving and parking, so many people call us to do Airbnbs for Brickell because Brickell is like a very hot area for it's like Brickell, Wynwood, Edgewater. Those are like the three places where people about Jade's age are or maybe 10 years older would be. When I grew up, it was like Coconut Grove, so it was a little bit different. And because people go there and they love vacationing there, it makes sense to them to have an Airbnb. But they don't really allow it because South Florida, so one of their biggest profit centers is the tourism industry, and so the hotel lobbies against it. So now these buildings, and the one that Jade is going to show you, they have a hotel component in it. So you don't have to worry about like something happening with legislation and all of a sudden you can't do it in this building. Developers are smart. They're building these properties where it's going to be good for short-term rentals going forward, and yeah, it makes it better.
Yeah. So that's something that a question we get a lot, can they repeal the short-term rental aspect of it? And they're building these new construction, which is why we like to sell it so much, to not be able to do that. Because some of the buildings, like there's a building in Edgewater called Opera Tower that originally did allow that. And then because it wasn't specifically built for that, because they of the way the condo is constructed, they could take that away, and guess what, they did. And if you had that as an investment, that kind of sucks for lack of a better word.
Yeah, totally. And like a lot of times, the people that so say you're in a building and you're you're in Opera Tower and you're doing these short-term rentals and you're an investor. The problem is if the building isn't set up with that hotel component where it it can definitely be short-term rentals going forward. What happens is you have these buildings, and then if you're on vacation and you're staying in an Airbnb, you're probably going to want to enjoy yourself. You're probably going to come home late. You're probably going to party a little bit more. You're going to probably be a little bit louder. And a lot of times these residents that in the building that live there that aren't doing Airbnbs get upset, and then they switch it around, or legislation, one or the
Yeah.
other.
Yeah, exactly. So it's super important, as we know, to do a lot of this to have that built in. And that's, again, why we like a lot of these new construction projects, because the developers know that. Like you said, they're smart, right? So I'm here in Brickell, in West Brickell. It's funny because we divide the areas so much here in Miami. And sorry if it's loud. I told you it was like mini Manhattan. So
You
bear
can't
with
hear
me.
much, Jade. It's good.
Oh, you can't? Okay, because I can hear it. I can hear it. So it's funny how we divide the areas, because like right there is it where that, like, you can see the top of the train. On the other side of that is considered East Brickell, but that is literally one or two blocks. And then if you go another 2-3 blocks, you're at the water. You're in Biscayne Bay, right? So this here is Southwest Second, which is kind of like a main drag here. And then you have Southwest 9th Street, right? So 9th is right here. If you guys know Brickell City Center, where that building is right there, that's called Rise, and that building is right in Brickell City Center. So the mall, the famous Swire that Amit was talking about, that they built Brickell City Center, Reach and Rise. It's right there. So you can walk there. You can walk into Mary Brickell Village. Right on the other side of those train tracks is a Publix. Super, super, super walkable location. Obviously, because anywhere in Brickell is. But what I like about West Brickell, not only do you have like potential appreciation, but it's easier to get in and out of Brickell. So the biggest issue for me with Brickell is that it's hard to get out of, right? So if we're in like normal East Brickell on the other side, right? This is Southwest 8, which runs into Brickell City Center. The bridge can go up and it can get crazy. Since we're here on Southwest 2nd, where the project is, it's a lot easier to get in and out of. And then if you go straight over, that is a bigger bridge. It doesn't go up as much, but it still can. But you can just hop on the highway from where that truck is turning. So it's a little easier to get in and out of than normal East Brickell over here where we are.
Yeah, so like because you're from New York and you haven't lived here your whole life, how long did it take you to get a feel for Brickell?
Sorry, my phone's going nuts here. I would say, oops. Okay, wait. Okay, I'm back. Nope, I'm not back. Where did we go? Where did you go? Amit? You're there.
Yeah, I'm here.
Somewhere. Yeah. I swear I'm not 800. Okay, wait. Here we go. Okay. You know, and like some people have like their vacuum running. Okay. So the first time I actually came to Brickell was here. I'm gonna turn the camera around for a second. Here we go. Oh, there's my hand. Okay, so it's funny because I'm holding it horizontal. The first time I came here to Brickell was actually for to meet up with a friend. I was at So I lived in Coral Gables, and I didn't really know what Brickell was. And I remember asking the taxi driver. Yes, it was not an Uber at that point yet. That had just come out when I was a freshman. But and I was like, "Is this a nice area?" And he was like, "Yeah, Brickell's great, but there's not a lot of restaurants. Like, there's not a lot." Shopping or anything like that. And I said, it just looks like a bunch of condo buildings. And it was. And then Swire came in and said, hey, we need a mall. We need something nice for this area for all these people living in the condo buildings. And that's what they did with Brickell City Center. So since Brickell City Center came, it's totally changed the area. But the first time was in 2015. It probably took me, I still get a little confused with the streets, and I've been here for over 8 years. Or around 8 years. So but it probably took me like 6 months to get familiar with. I mean, Brickell it's so exciting. There's always something happening. Like if you want to be in an area that's like really moving, this is where it is.
Yeah, and I think in defense to you not knowing it, 100% is there's been construction every year, a ton of it.
You could just tell. Hold on, I'll flip it around again. Even here, the camera's there. Okay. Right here, like construction going there. Now, like a lot of the construction, you can see the crane. That's for 830. There we go, right there. 830 Brickell, which is going to be one of the tallest office buildings, beautiful office building, done by Vlad Duronin, who is the chairman of Amman, and he's doing Missoni. There's just so much going on here. So a lot of times when they're doing construction with the traffic, they reroute you, and you're like, where am I? But once they put Brickell City Center in, it kind of helped me navigate where I was, right, within Brickell.
Right, totally.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the project. I'm going to go over to the site here. This is cool. We do a lot of Airbnb projects. A lot of people call us for that. What do I like about this? So Smart Brickell has 3 towers, right? And the first tower, crossing the street here, looking left and right. Okay, this first tower here is already done, right? So like, as you know, it's super, super hard to get something that allows the short term, and you don't have to wait 2 years.
Yeah, totally.
This is the first tower of Smart Brickell. Next door, they've already broken ground. That's where Tower 2 is going to go. And then even for one over where the blue wrapping is going to be Tower 3, right?
So with the first one that you're talking about, sorry to interrupt you. So for the first one you're talking about, are there any units left in there, or is it sold out?
Yes. So this is the really, really cool thing. So it was sold out, right? But what happened? There was so much demand for this product, and now that the building is complete, people it's great to buy pre-construction, but it's hard when you can't see something. And I understand that. And unless you're like a risk taker and you like to do that, it's nice to have something tangible to look at, right? So once this building was built, the sales office started getting a ton of inquiries, right? And what happened is this developer who's from Colombia, he actually had, I think it was 25, I could be wrong on that number, but units that he was keeping for himself. So he liked the project so much that he was keeping those units, was never planning to sell them. He was going to run them, get the cash flow from them. And because of the demand, the sales office pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And he said, okay, fine, I'll sell some of my units. So there are about 10, give or take, units left. They're left not because they didn't sell, but because they just released this, right, a few days ago, from the developer's personal inventory that now, are up for grabs.
So looking at the building,
Yep.
what would be your best guess as far as how many units are in it?
It's actually a boutique building. It's 100 units altogether. So
Okay.
like my building that I live in is 270 or around 270 units. And that's considered on the smaller side. So it's really nice to have, one tower dedicated only to 100 units. It's a lot of less like in and out, especially for something like an Airbnb project. Just kind of a lot of less chaos. The way it's made up, basically, you see these floors down here, how they kind of bulge out. Those are studios, right?
Okay.
And then after the 8th floor, which is the amenity deck, the like long thing, you have the 1 and 2 bedrooms.
Oh, okay. Okay. And what are the prices for them? So like there's about 10 left. Around what price would that be?
So the ones that are that were the new release from the developer's personal inventory are studios. So they're all in this block here. I always say when people are buying in a project, especially if it's their first time doing Airbnb, buy the cheapest thing. Don't buy the most expensive unless you really, really, really want to spend money, which is kind of like counterintuitive to what most realtors would tell you because we make a commission. But I always say, buy the least expensive thing, see how it goes, and then you can upgrade. You can always spend more. But if you look at like return percentages and stuff like that, it's always best on a lower price point, which are coincidentally the studio. So the stuff that's released is between 400,000 and 500,000 for a studio in
Okay.
this block.
Yeah, that's very reasonable. And with that said, with those units, how big are they? Probably like 400 or 500 square feet, give or take.
Yeah. So, depending, they're between 400 and 500 exactly square feet. And what's really good is they come fully furnished. So you're essentially getting, I think there's one over 500,000, but for the bulk, the ones that are remaining, you're getting a studio fully furnished, able to do Airbnb. Oh, check it out, the door's open. In Brickell. And it's a pre-construction, but it's complete, right? So this is going to be their, they have all the contracts that are getting done right now. So their latest is September, but it will probably be June, July opening.
Okay, when people can start moving in.
Yeah, the building is complete from the outside. They just have to do the finishing touches on the inside.
Okay, and now because rents are so high, everywhere in South Florida, I'm sure the person could get a decent amount for those.
Oh yeah, so right down the street. So the studios, they what they have is they have kitchenettes, right? And they have sorry. Okay. You see? Yeah. Okay. So they have kitchenettes, the beds, they have sofas that are pull out sofas, and and there's more privacy here. If you go to the Marriott just down the street, right? They're charging between like $350 and $375 a night, and there's no kitchenette in the unit. It's not as new of a project, blah, 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 blah. So basically that's what this is being compared to. As, oh my goodness, stop calling me. Sorry. So that's what this is being compared to on a price per night basis.
Nice. Are there any, I would assume there are no amenities. I guess you did say there are amenities, right? On that
There
big
are,
floor.
yeah. There are amenities, and that's why. So the HOA on this is about $1.70. Reason be about $1.70, $1.80. Reason being a foot, but again, on a 500 square foot unit, that's not a lot, right? The
Yeah,
reason for
900
that is
bucks.
exactly the reason for that is that you only have 100 units. You have a smaller share of the common charges. You have you have pools here, and then when the second and third building are complete, that eighth floor is going to go across, so you can use all of those amenities.
Nice. And for those that don't know, and Jade, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it seems to me that short-term rental buildings typically have a higher HOA price per square foot. I would think because maybe more and wear and tear on the building and stuff. Is that right or no?
Yeah. There's more. The building, like in something like Quadro, that they have to manage a lot more, like from a hotel standpoint. So
Okay.
in order to keep that like running decent, you have to pay higher and things like that, more salaries, more people, more cleaning, like just not cleaning of your unit, but like the hallways alone need to be cleaned more than a condo building, right? Because
Right,
there's like
like
people
Disney
in and out.
World, right?
Exactly.
Like, okay.
So you have to have you have to have that ability, and that obviously a higher HOA, but you have smaller unit, you have a smaller amount of units, which is nice for uh, the guests staying here. So 100 units and 100 units and 100 units that don't exist yet. So 300 total in 3 towers, as opposed to 301 tower.
Right. So a question I have is because we're getting so close to completion, I know
Yeah.
like in other buildings, pre-construction, you give a series of escrow deposits to
Yeah.
secure, your contract.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea how that works with this one?
Yeah. So this essentially is 50%, right, is what you're paying now, and then the balance at closing. You can finance that. You can do whatever the heck you want. You can pay cash for the balance. You could finance it, but that's essentially, so it's 50% due upon signing of the contract, and then 50% balance at TCO, so when they're closing.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, so what would you say like if someone is gonna stay there, how long would it take them to get to like the airport, to South Beach, some of the other locations in Miami?
Yeah, so I'd say like 15 minutes with traffic, maybe 20 to South Beach. You're about, the good thing about Miami that not a lot of cities have is like we're really close to the airport. Like in New York City, it could take you like 45 minutes, an hour to get to JFK or LaGuardia. They're both a nightmare. But here we're like 15 minutes from the airport. We're very close, 15, 20 minutes, kind of to everything. You see that green and orange thing? For people that don't know, that's a free trolley that goes around Miami. It's not the fastest way, but it's free. So, hey, that's a nice little bonus. But yeah, so you're 15, 20 minutes from the airport, 15, 20 minutes from South Beach. I would say 15 minutes away from Design District, 10 minutes from Wynwood, and 2 blocks from Brickell.
It's funny because how central that location is. It's such a great location, and people probably wouldn't know that just by looking at there. You're probably pretty close to Key Biscayne as well, not that far from
Oh
there.
yeah. Good point. I didn't even think about. I wasn't even thinking that. Yeah, you are about like 5-10 minutes from Key Biscayne. And this car is like, can I cross? Yeah, you can cross. Go ahead. They said hi. They like the project.
Oh,
Um,
nice, nice.
so yeah, super close to Key Biscayne. For people that don't know, Key Biscayne is a beach, a calmer beach, right? Calmer South Beach. And also, so on the top of this building of Smart Brickell here, that's what this project's called. You're gonna have oh Jade, what are you gonna have? You're gonna have a big balcony. And I heard a rumor there's gonna be a restaurant, but I have to confirm.
Why is it called Smart Brickell? Do you know?
I don't, but I would assume because to get a place in Brickell for under 500,000 furnished, allowing Airbnb is pretty damn smart. You ask me.
So my guess, and I might be wrong, is like a smart home, like with the environment, but I could be wrong.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure energy efficient and all that stuff, but but I'm not. I actually don't know why they didn't do
Yeah,
that. It's a good question.
likewise. Do you know like restaurants? What would be some of the places to eat or things to do if you're living there?
Well, let's actually see. Hope I don't get towed. I don't think so because West Brickell is a little cooler than the other part of Brickell. So we can literally walk down where I was before to
Oh,
8th, and
nice.
you can go into Brickell City Center, and there you have Passatura Cucina, which is awesome. It's like an Italian eataly kind of thing where you go. Well, before you went and picked up your food, now they bring it to you since COVID. But you can eat there. You can go to Pub Belly, which is a sushi place. You can go to, I think there's a Tautology, like a taco place there. There's a really nice movie theater in Brickell City Center. I mean, if you want to like go party restaurant kind of thing, you can go to like Marion, which is also a couple blocks away. Um, they're putting a putting green. What is that called? What the little
Oh,
golf,
putt
mini golf.
putt or
Yeah,
oh, mini
there you
golf.
go.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. They're putting that in Brickell City Center as well. There's a Wendy's.
Where's that restaurant that the team we went for dinner?
Oh yeah. So that was Komodo, which is right where it's between 10th and 11th. So I would say like 5 blocks away. You walk there. Faster to
Nice.
walk. Absolutely. And yeah, so here, this is the corner of 8th and 2nd. And if I made a right here, I would literally be walking into Brickell City Center in 2 blocks.
Cool. I want to share something with my screen a second. Um, so as we talk about like things to do and places to eat and stuff, we're creating this ultimate Miami neighborhood guide, and we picked out a bunch of hyper local areas and then we have like 5 blogs on each one. So let me go to Brickell. I'm not sure if we're done with Brickell yet. Okay, so yeah, Brickell, we have Explore Brickell. So it's basically an overview of Brickell. Then 5 things you may not know about Brickell, 5 things to do in Brickell, 5 restaurants to eat in Brickell, places to get dessert, and then we have a neighborhood video of Brickell. So we're doing this with like 35 or 40 different areas. And basically, if you go to MiamiNeighborhoodGuide.com, that's MiamiNeighborhoodGuide.com, you'll be able to see all that stuff. It's taking us about a year plus, but yeah, that should give you an idea of any area in South Florida. So where are you now?
Sorry, I told you it was loud here, so there was an ambulance going by.
Oh, okay.
I was just walking, down 2nd to show Brickell City Center. But actually, what do you think? I always do it to Sophia. I'm like, do you think I'll get towed? And she's like, I don't know. But let's actually see if we can walk in to Brickell City Center quick, so you guys can see. Don't do what I'm doing. Okay. So I'm just on the other side of the street here. So down there is Smart Brickell. I mean, when you say central, this is like the most central you can get. And again, there's only you could do Brickell Bay Club that does short-term rentals, but it's really not the nicest. And the price points now are very high, and it's an older building, right? So this is new, sexy, and it's going to be delivered in a couple of months.
Nice.
What else? What other questions do you think people will have?
So they know the price. They know that they can get it really quickly. They know they can. One of the good things too is you can finance it, right? A lot of
Yeah,
these
yeah, you can.
short-term rentals, you have a lot of issues when they're resales and you're trying to finance them. But this one can actually be financed, so that's great.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was actually thinking about that the other day. When you're buying a pre-construction, even though the contract is a developer contract, for some reason it's substantially easier to get financing than when it's a resale, like you said. There's just a whole, I think once the condo is turned over, there's a bunch of kind of like qualifications and criteria the building has to meet, and like the developer can't hold the HOA and all these things. So it's easier before it's turned over, essentially.
Yeah, so with that said, guys, if you want to buy a short-term rental and you're not paying cash, you may want to get new construction because otherwise it's going to be extremely difficult unless you're flexible with certain things, not being daily, maybe once a month or maybe
Yeah,
4 times. I mean, yeah, 12 times a year, maybe 4 times a year.
yeah,
Otherwise, you should do new construction.
yeah. So this track is what I was talking about here, right? That's the Metro mover that is kind of separating West and East Brickell. And then, I'm sorry, that's the Metro, not the Metro mover, and it's going by now. I didn't plan that. But that goes, it'll actually, you could change, you could go to the airport on it. A lot of people don't know that. And so this here, where the green is, can you see that? That's the underline.
Yeah.
It's a project to put parks and green space under the metro area, so it's a little more usable instead of
Yeah, it's
just
really
being,
cool.
yeah, instead of just being wasted space, right? Like it is in most cities. So here you have like little seating area, and you can actually like bike or run, for me, a lot underneath, and it's nice because it has shade, right?
So do you run in Brickell?
I do. I actually run to Brickell, and then I'll run it. It's not that
Nice.
far. It
For
seems
you,
further.
right?
No, when people see me here, they're always like, "Oh, yeah, it's so far." I'm like, "It's not really. It's a couple miles to get here, like 3 miles, and then just do a couple loops, and then we're good to go. Depending how much you want to work out."
Right. So you're by Brickell City Center, I see. So
Yeah. So what
I think, sorry to interrupt you. I think the next thing that we do is we get you a stabilizer for the phone.
do you mean? You don't like my phone bouncing up and down?
It's
Pretty good job.
okay.
Anyway,
You're doing way better than I thought, actually.
just
But
kidding. But yeah, so here you have Brickell City Center. So I mean, I just walked here, and I'm not walking fast or anything. So it's a couple minutes, right? Look, like we're right here. It's amazing mall. So it's super, 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 super central, right? The location.
yeah, you touched on it a little bit, but I think you should go in a little bit more depth about it. Is the eating. You were talking about you know, our similar place like Italy in New York. So can you tell us about that a bit more?
Well, we know that the expert eater on a team is Will, but I will try. Hold on, I just want to point this out for a second. So you see this, like this is because, right, there is traffic in East Brickell, and being on the other side, you don't get as much traffic. So that's why they're doing like little extra scooters, and we obviously have there's another one, the Rebel. They have the oh look, there's a guy on an electric scooter now because it's easier to get
Oh,
around. But
cool. Yeah.
if you're in West Brickell, it's a little bit less chaotic. So in Brickell City Center, you have like I said, that Italian place called Casa Tua Cucina, which is actually like, I don't go out and eat a lot. I mean, sometimes with friends, but I'm not like a huge eater. For that, contact Will because he knows all the good stuff. But that is a place, Casa Tua Cucina is a place that I go to. It's actually the same food as Casa Tua because it's the same owners, which is like the fancy Italian restaurant. But it's not like a fine dining place. It's more of like a lunch, casual dinner spot. It's nice. It's not super inexpensive, but it's also not super expensive. So you have the same food that you would have in Casa Tua, but at like a more casual, it's kind of like a shared table kind of situation. If you've been to Italy, you kind of go and pick up your food, and then you sit down. It's like kind of a not buffet, but I don't know. What would you call that, Amit?
You just have a lot of choices, right? A ton of
Yeah, you have like
choices.
different stations and things like that. Um, yeah, so and then there's some more little restaurants there. I think this area will get developed eventually. Uh, yeah, so you used to be able to go and pick it up, but now they bring it to you. I don't know if they're putting the other way back, but you know, you sit down and like sometimes you're at a table with other people. Um, you know, you can sit a chair apart or whatever. You don't have to sit right next to them. But it's a very casual, like fun spot to go. A lot of like finance people that work here in Brickell, which is where, oh my goodness, sorry, which is where a lot of the people are already calling us on the video. We didn't even put it up yet.
We need to stream next time, right?
Yeah, I know. So a lot of the headquarters for, you know, finance of Latin America are here. So they'll go and eat at Casa Tua Cucina, and anyone that, because there's a WeWork here in Brickell City Center, so a lot of like startups. I think there's a Microsoft too, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, in the WeWork here, there was a Spotify, but they just opened headquarters in Wynwood, which is another project we'll do. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, a lot of them will go there for lunch. It's a really fun place to hang out, meet people, and kind of get like a sense of what Miami is.
Yeah, I love it. Brickell City Center is awesome. And the reason I brought up the restaurant aspect is when they were building Brickell City Center, that was such a huge draw for people because they were
Yeah,
like
because like you
Miami's.
said, there was nothing.
Yeah, totally. The land was cheaper and now it's not,
And now
except,
it's definitely not.
yeah.
So that right there, you see the white, like in front of the white Mercedes, they're putting a
Uh-huh.
Nike there, which is also really awesome because if you are like a big Nike fan, and I don't run in Nikes, but I use them for like streetwear or whatever. I don't recommend running in Nikes; it'll ruin your knees. But for just casual, they're putting a store there, and the only other like close Nike store is in South Beach, and it's kind of like a pain to get to and
Right.
park. And parking here, actually, for being in Brickell City Center is some of like the easiest parking because they have like 3 different parking garages from entry points, right? So there's one of them. The only thing you have to remember is what color you parked in because I have spent like
Right.
40 minutes trying to figure out where I parked. But yeah, coming in here, you have this access when you're leaving the city. There's also another access point, so it's easy to get a parking spot, and they have like multiple levels. They also have a car wash in the garage, which is cool. So like if you're going, let's say you live in Smart Brickell or you're staying for a couple days, and oh my goodness, I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't know the video was gonna be that popular. And you want to go and grab something to eat, but you also need to get your car washed. Hey, well, it's Miami. You could do that here.
Nice. Anything else before we finish? I guess they need to know how to get in touch with you. I guess they'll see your information. But in case I don't think this will make a good podcast, huh?
You don't think so?
Or
I
what
mean,
do you
no,
think?
because it's. I think you have to see it. The whole point is that, like, normally we're just doing the Zoom kind of talking, and you can really see it. So I think the whole point is to see the location and the building, and like
With
see what it
that
looks like.
said, if you do the podcast, we can just have a link to the video in the description of the podcast.
Yeah, it's kind of like, have you ever listened to an audiobook that has like a a workbook with it, and you don't get the workbook, and you're like, wait, it's like draw on this thing. I mean, not like
Right.
colors, but you know what I mean? Fill out your goals now, and you're like, oh, whoops, I didn't get the. So it's probably easier if you do have if you do watch it on YouTube, if you have a couple minutes.
Yep.
So
All
this
right.
this here is the train. Wait. So
Oh, right,
underlined
right.
here, but and look, it counts the miles, which is pretty cool. I like that, from
Yeah.
0 all the way up. But this is the Marriott, right? The AC Marriott that I was comparing it to, right? As
Nice.
far as like price point. And so
Yeah.
sorry. I mean, I didn't think I was going to be this popular. Seriously, it's ridiculous. I should probably put my phone on do not disturb. But anyway, so this is the AC Marriott, which we were comparing prices to, right? So not as private, because look at like the through street,
Right.
right? You're on Southwest 8, which is you're getting off, US 1, and that's where you turn on to go into Brickell or turn off of, and there's no balconies.
Oh, right, right.
So compare that building here to ours, which we're going to go back to in a second. I just think it's a nicer product. It's also a quieter location. But look, if you could charge the same rate and steal their clients all day, right?
Right. I
Nothing
mean, you
against
could
them,
probably,
but
I would think you could probably charge more, right?
yeah. I mean, hey, look, you have a balcony in Miami. I feel like even if you don't use the balcony, you need to have one.
And the kitchenette as well, right?
Exactly. Yep. And it's more private. So, Q Metro again, third time.
Oh, cool.
So clearly the Metro runs. I didn't put that bus here, but hey, here it is, the trolley for you guys. Free, right? And then you can see how many times the Metro runs. Just in this video, it's passed 3 times. And look, there's the Publix too, like right
Oh,
across from
nice.
the grocery store, which is pretty cool.
So you mentioned that there are 10 units left, around 10 in this tower.
Yep.
Um, and depending on when someone watches the video, because I would assume those 10 are going to sell pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, I'd probably say like timeline wise, like less than maybe 2 to 3 weeks.
Right. And so they're building those other two. Are those
Yep.
for sale yet?
They are actually, believe it or not, almost, so that if I'm not mistaken, yeah, the second tower, the 1 and 2 bedrooms are sold out. They held the studios for last, which is kind of interesting because normally a developer will release certain models of each thing, like a 1 bedroom, a 2 bedroom, and a studio, and the least expensive usually sells the fastest. So
Right.
it's interesting what this developer did. He saved the studios. So there will be some studios in the second tower. The 1 and 2 bedrooms are completely sold out. And in the third tower, the only thing that is left are 2 bedrooms. And those start around like the high 8s, low 9 price point, 800 to 900,000.
Okay, so someone could buy pretty much anything. They can buy a studio, they can buy, a more expensive. There are no one bedrooms, right, in any of them? It's just
There are no 1 bedrooms left. So in the first tower, the one that's already complete and going to be opening in a couple of months, you only have studios, and then you could get the 2 bedroom, but not in the first tower. It would be in the third tower,
right.
And that will be within 2 years, let's say 2 to 3, because you never know, right? What can happen.
So it makes it, if you were buying, would you buy, and you had like 8 or 900,000 to buy, would you buy
Yep.
2 of the studios in the first tower, or would you buy
yeah,
two?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, because look, it's almost ready. You can start capitalizing on the strength of like the market and strength of Miami as a whole right now, as opposed to waiting, which
Right.
is nice. Yeah, I just also think from like an investment standpoint, your return will be higher because your occupancy rate will be higher because you're charging less per night. Like when
Right.
we run some of the units at Quadro, which is another building in Design District, when they have a lower price, it obviously rents quicker and you have a higher occupancy rate. And clients always say, oh, well, how can I get the occupancy rate up? I'm like, well, drop the price. I mean, it's, it's like a seller in this market saying, why isn't my place selling? Well, there's only one reason why it's not selling, and it's because your price isn't right. It's too expensive.
Right.
Because if not, it'll be gone.
Right. So like, I know there are a lot of people that have money, but they're not really good at finance, where like these cap rates and return on investment and all these other things, they would rather do anything but that. So if there are
Yep.
people out there that have the money, they want to buy something, but they just want it explained to them, for lack of a better way of saying it, explained
Yeah.
to them, and you could simplify it. Can you do that for them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have estimates and spreadsheets and all of that really sexy stuff. We obviously don't have Series 7, so we're not selling an investment, but we can give you kind of a general idea of what to expect, more or less. And I can tell you from previous projects that we've sold, like in Quadro, we conservatively estimate the nightly rent and the occupancy rate in order to give you like a cap rate, or like an ideal cap rate that's conservative. So when it does deliver and you are charging more and your occupancy is higher, you're happy, not mad. Because we don't want to say, hey, look, you could charge 500 a night, your occupancy is going to be 95. That's not true, right? But when you conservatively estimate the nightly and the occupancy, and then it's higher, well, then you're just going to be happier, right?
Yeah, I would think too that you would probably have higher occupancy rates, and this is just guessing. You have a hotel right there, right? And
Yep.
if pe if a company was smart enough to put a hotel there, that probably means they did a lot of research. They probably saw the trends, they saw where people need to have a place and all that. And that probably means that right down the street, it's the same thing.
Yep. But look, if Marriott put a place there, I think you're pretty safe. So just to compare the hotel that we were just at versus, checking my car still here, versus here, right? So even on the studios, you have balconies. I mean, they're not huge balconies, but it's still a balcony, and it's a hotel, hotel room. And look how much quieter the street is,
Yeah.
right? Like there's no cars coming in and out. I mean, yeah, you have a little bit, but it's nice, and you can get out easy because where that arrow is, you just hop on and you get on the highway and boom. But it's not a pass through street. Like it's not right on Second, it's off of it, so you're not getting a ton of noise. It's quiet around here. So great location.
Yeah, especially like if you go to like regular Brickell or East Brickell compared to West, the amount of traffic is exponentially less.
Yeah,
It's like
that's why they're on motorcycles.
right.
Yeah.
If someone is like on 8th or 10th Street and they're on like Brickell Avenue, it's gonna take them forever, like
Oh
three,
yeah,
four
yeah, yeah,
o'clock.
yeah. And now, they at that light, the infamous light that takes forever. Um,
Yes.
that light, now you can't turn right on red. I don't know
Oh
if you
wow.
saw that, but it
No.
says like, no, can't turn right on red. I'm like, oh. So anyway, which is why they're bringing in Elon Musk to do some, you know,
Right.
to do some heavy lifting. And my car's still here, so I'm happy. But yeah, it's easier. Look like that Jeep, it's going out, it's going to go on the highway and boom, right? It's just easier and quieter too, right? It's just a more peaceful area. So I think from a rental standpoint, I mean, look, maybe people will go to Marriott because of the name and the hotel and things like that. But once they stay, do they want to go back? It's on a busy street, it's loud. Or are they going to try something else and get a balcony, get a little bit of a quieter place? I think that's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah. So before we go, anything else?
Um, no, I would just say, one other thing. Well, two other things. First thing is, even though these studios, like, doesn't really look like they have much of a view, you have the street in front of it. So in a lot of these new buildings, like District 225, things like that, they're going to be built so close to other buildings. So on the lower, floors, or like least lower, less expensive units, you look literally right at a wall that's like a couple feet away. But here you have a whole street, right? So you
Right.
always, no matter what eventually is built here or whatever it is, right? You always have space in between, which preserves some of the view. I mean, I'm not promising on the third floor you're getting a crazy view for 500. That's not going to happen, but it's an investment, and I mean, you still have this protected from like the double wide street, which is nice, and then you have a space between these buildings, so you can see some like open views. So it goes the 1, 2, 3, 4, like it's coming in this way, the way it goes, the way the floor plan's laid out. So just if you're curious, like this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, if that makes any sense, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, if you guys are interested, obviously just Oh, and it comes with a chicken, apparently. What was
Great.
that? What's that? A rooster, rooster, rooster. Wanted to find him. And if you guys are interested, just send me a DM at Jade Kalbacher, and it will put that below.
Yeah, that'll be in the video. And you can also follow if you're curious, if you're a Miami lover or thinking about moving here, I would highly recommend that you follow Jade, you check out her stories. It's almost like you're watching like $1 million listing show without the drama, usually. Um,
Sometimes there's drama, but we don't like to accentuate it because we don't. I mean, what's the point, right? I mean, we're not trying to sell
yes.
uh, fights here. We're just trying to, show the city and the Miami lifestyle, which is really kind of uncomparable to anything else.
Okay, so last thing. If someone for whatever reason sees this and it's not available, or they decide, they like it, but it's not for them,
Mhm.
this is like a quick answer. What would you recommend besides this?
Uh, Two things: standard or nomad. Both different areas, both different projects. We have a video on the standard. We'll do one at the site as well, because I think, if you guys like it, I think it's a little easier to see the area and site like this. But if you're cool with monthly rentals, standard. If you are dead set on the daily rental thing, nomad, which is in Wynwood, totally different project, but definitely worth looking at as well.
Yeah, and we did a video on that one as well.
We did. Yep.
Okay, cool. Thanks, guys, for following us, watching us, and if you haven't subscribed, please do. All the best.
Bye.